Oh, all right. I'm back trying to evaluate this Porsche 914 engine, and I did hook a better battery directly to the starter. Still spinning really slow. So, I'm thinking, okay, let's pull the starter off and have it rebuilt. Well, I forgot about this guy. All the way back in there is an 18 millimeter bolt that holds that starter on, that you cannot get a socket on it because of the shape of the starter itself, and the space. I mean, maybe you could get in a real stubby 18 millimeter wrench, but getting the leverage to break it loose. So I did try just loosening up on the transmission mounts, put a jack under the transmission, tilted it down, and I just can't get enough clearance in there, especially with my left arm still in this brace. So I guess I just got to drop the engine at least a little to get that bolt out. I think the only thing that will stop me from dropping it, got to get this shifter rod off. That's the reason I've already opened this up. Check out that ball right there. There's supposed to be a bushing in there. It's long gone. So if I can get that shift rod out of the way, might even be able to leave the CV axles on. Well, I might as well take them off. I mean, just get them out of the way. All I need is about a foot of clearance up under there. Just some minor stuff on the top side, what little electricals hooked up to it. And let's look under here. Get those brake lines out of the way, the throttle cable and the brake cable, which is pretty toasty. Drop all that stuff down. I got to remember how the shift rod, I think it snakes all the way back to the shifter, or it's got a joint in it somewhere. Anyway, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get this thing down, get that starter off, get it to a shop for rebuild, because I'm just spinning my wheels, trying to figure out what the compression is. If I can't get this thing to spin over properly, I'll post a few more shots of dropping this thing for you guys that are interested in pulling the starter. So that set screw up by the firewall, that was another one of those special ones with the tapered tip. It's 4 millimeter, but it wouldn't come out. It was just dripping. So I ended up having to use a Torx bit and beat it in there. I think it's a T27. Got a good bite and pulled it out. So, it's always something with these old cars. So there's that coupler that goes on the shift linkage. Yeah, there's supposed to be a nylon bushing inside of there. That's what. And don't lose that set screw, because it's a very special one with like a tapered tip. So if you're having shifting problems, that could be it, because that knob is just walling around in there. And then your other breaking point for the shift rod is right here, right behind the firewall. I need to put some rust kill on that. Not rust kill, but lubricant. And that should free up the shift rod. Also, cutting that boot off helped a lot. That thing was fried anyway. So there's that joint right behind the firewall with the set screw out. If I remember right, that assembly there is awful hard to find as well. So looks like it's got a pin that's pressed into that joint. Anyway, let me get this rod out of here. Alright, got the speedo cable off. It just goes right up here, just a collar. Piece of cake there. Next, I'll take the clutch cable off. Looks like it's got an abundance of nuts on there. I know there's supposed to be 2, but hell, that one's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 nuts. I reckon that clutch is going to be toast. So I just pulled the pulley off that bracket or spindle or whatever you want to call it, and then you can just reach up here and pull this wedge right out of the clutch fork, and I think the should just pop out. It might have some kind of retainer or something on it, but that's a heck of a lot quicker than dealing with all those nuts. Holy mollies, that's crazy way to adjust the clutch. Might also put some baling wire in here to hold that clutch cable into that bracket. Isn't that nice? So looking up top here, there isn't a whole lot I have to take loose to drop the engine, and I'm kind of thinking I'm going to just put it, I just need to drop it down enough to get the starter off, and then I'm just going to put it back in because I want to continue testing, and I want to get it to start with the starter switch instead of, you know, jumping it. I think it's related to this board. I've got a couple of relays ordered that go in those slots because you've got a, you know, one harness comes in here and one goes in here. Now, when I looked at the relay diagram, the circuit diagram on that, the starter actually is yellow wire on that. It actually does not go through a relay. It just goes across the board to this connector. There's a trace, but I think I'm going to pull that board out and look at the underside because it may be fried. Anyway, going back to dropping the engine, there's a fuel line that comes up. I'm getting rid of that anyway, so I'm just going to take that loose and pull it on through. There's a return fuel line that goes away, and I mean, that's really it. I got slack on just about everything, so I'm going to go ahead and start dropping it down. If I get in trouble, I can come up here and take loose on whatever I need to. I want to get that starter off. Yeah, I did take the CV axles off because when you start lowering down, that's not going to work with a header on there. So pretty simple, 4 6mm hex bolts. Always tap your socket on those CV axles with a hammer. Drive them in there good. Those hex bolts, caps bolts will strip out if you don't. I love this iron box for this. So yeah, I'll put the motor bar right on a block on the edge there where I can get to the front of the thing. And then a couple of blocks back here on the transmission. That way the headers shouldn't hit the ground, hit the box. So got the 17mm nuts off the motor mount bar, and then the 19mm off the transaxle. Note that those bolts have a tendency to bind up because they go in at an angle. Just take a punch or something and kind of whack them, and they'll free themselves up. Just the way it's designed at that angle makes it weird. And by the way, don't forget to take the ground strap off. So now you see I got all kinds of good access in here. There's that offending bolt, and just look, see how the casting on the starter itself goes right up against the bolt. It's ridiculous how that thing is in there. Just kind of looking at it from the side here. Boy, that looks a little rough on that side. All right, well, I'm gonna get a wrench in there and see if I can break that thing loose. Well, that bolt didn't put up too much of a fight. Turned out to be a 17. It is a Bosch starter. I'm not sure about that number, however. I'll look that up here in a second. But the bad news is, right as it was coming off, one of these ears broke off, which really sucks because now it's probably not even good as a core. I don't know. I might still take it up that shop and see if they can even do anything with it. But it's probably done. Oh well. I'll start looking for another one.